Hello.
Hi, Mark.
Yeah, doing good. How you doing?
Good. I'm good, thank you.
I still don't like the fact you're sitting higher than me in that picture.
I don't like the fact that you're more tanned than me either.
Well, I don't like the
But
fact you're more muscly than me.
yeah, well, I can't argue with that one. Yeah, so let me just yeah, Mark, you've got a lovely colour.
Do you know what? I've moved the chair across as well, so it makes it look like I'm central now, even though I'm not.
Yeah, we've got a few more people to join, and then we'll get going. Should be an interesting one today.
I'm going to get some more cushions so I can sit higher than you.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Did you read the thing I sent across to you?
Oh, the Man United thing? No, it was 2 pages, so I didn't have time.
It's not long.
No. But what we'll do is we'll copy that and use it ourselves tomorrow.
I know. And Mark is aware that everyone can see him as well and hear him as well. Just so
As long as people aren't putting up messages to say that. I thought it was just me and you.
It's not. We're just waiting. We'll start in a couple of minutes. People are just. I can see people coming through the door as we speak.
And you're going to do the thing where people can ask questions, and you're going to let them come
Yeah.
onto the screen.
If people want to, and the questions are, we can answer them, anyone wants to come in and debate with us, people can put a question in the Q&A box, and then we'll potentially invite you to come on and have a chat.
We'll end up doing Zoom karaoke again.
We could. We will. Yeah. So it's just gone 4, so we give it a couple of minutes, one more minute, and then we'll get going.
I could have let my peppermint tea brew another minute more there.
You could still do that.
Well, no, I've done it. It's already here.
No.
What I'm hoping is that Gal will bring me some beers as well as we're talking.
Why not? Well, I have to say, and I know I've said it before, that is a tremendous suntan.
I've dimmed the lights in here so it doesn't look like I'm that brown. Well, you know, though, when we do our office Zoom calls, hello. You know, when we do our office Zoom calls, most of them I'm outside and you can hear the birds singing away there in my ears.
Yeah, but that is 8:30 in the morning, so you know you can't.
That's because I work from 8:30 to 5:30 though in the garden.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah.
Was that Darren?
No, that's yeah, Darren. That is Darren.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
I'll tell you what, I'm going to put my suntan light on. What about that? There's a more tan.
That's very, very right. Let's get going. So, look, firstly, thank you for attending the webinar. It's going to be slightly different. This is going to be Mark and I chatting about everything that's been going on at the moment. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Mitch. I'm CEO of Nordens. For those of you that don't know Mark, Mark is our founder and chairman of Nordens. And yeah, I know Mark hates the word chairman, but it doesn't matter. It's the title. It's going to stick. But what we're going to do is we're going to just chat away about lots of different areas, including we'll touch on the updates and touch on everything that's going on in business now, before lockdown, and what we think is going to happen beyond lockdown as well. For anybody that has any questions, wants to interact with us throughout, either put it in the Q&A box or the chat box and we've also toyed around with the idea of inviting people on to the panel as well. We can do that should anybody has questions or want to take part, unless you put things in the chat box like what brand of fake tan does Mark use. You will not be able to take part, unfortunately. But look, Mark, let's start. Let's recap on where we are now, how we've got to where we are. So, I'll let you start. What are your thoughts about it?
Well, so I go backwards pre-lockdown.
Go as far back as you like.
Last October, I didn't have a tan whatsoever. So last year, I can't remember. Do you remember I started writing articles about recessions coming and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't me being clever or anything like that. It's well known recessions happen every 8 or 10 years. And the last one was 2008. And I thought, it must be time for a recession. So I started writing articles to say, oh, this is what you should do. And this is what's going to happen. And then I was completely wrong. It didn't happen like that at all. And if we just start and we just carry on chatting, I remember, when they started talking about the virus, I didn't take it seriously. I thought it was going to be like bird flu, where 4.5 people around the world died from it. And I remember, we had that large job to go and work on in Paris, and it got cancelled, and I couldn't understand why it was going to be cancelled. And it was being delayed. And of course, you only understand what was happening in Paris, and you could see the lockdown. And I remember that first weekend, and it was 2 weekends, I think, before lockdown started. I thought to myself, oh my God, we're going to lose the company. I've worked all these years to build something. I love being outside, as people can see. I like playing golf and tennis. It's all going to be taken away from me. And, I sulked the whole weekend. It was just horrible.
Well, I remember we've been chatting about it for a while. And, again, I was in the same position as you. It was just, what is this virus? I'm sure it's nothing. Everyone's going to get through it and get on with their lives, and it's not going to affect the world. And I remember that day when you came in after the weekend, and I have to admit, I got concerned when you got concerned.
Yeah. And so I came in on the Monday, probably in tears or whatever. And we had our first directors meeting to deal with this, like the same as the government did their COVID, whatever it's called. And I just remember sitting there and explaining, and I felt devastated. I felt flat. And the whole day I worked, and I did all the things that we tell clients to do. I worked on our cash forecast. I worked out worst case scenario. But at the end of the day, and I don't know if I'm totally honest, I just remember I got to the stage where, do you know what? We'll come through this one way or another. And I hate to say it, but if we had to liquidate it and start again or whatever, I knew that we'd come through it. But by the end of the day, I'd worked out a plan. And since then, so that was 2 weeks before lockdown. And ever since then, I think we're in with 9 and a bit weeks of lockdown now, aren't we? Or whatever it's called now. So it's 11 weeks. Every single morning we get together as a group of directors, and the executive level as well, with the other part, the people involved. And we chat. And I said, I sulked the first 2 days. I was upset the third day. By the Tuesday, we had a plan in place, and I felt that every day we've worked through it. And I don't know about you, it's been the most bizarre, extreme experience you can ever imagine, isn't it?
It's definitely something that I was a bit frightened. I mean, if I look back 6 months ago or 6 to 9 months ago when I took the CEO role, it was brilliant. It was an opportunity that you become the leader, and it's, you took a step back, and it's, I got to start implementing my own vision on it, which was exciting for me. And then all of a sudden this happens, and it's like, oh my, all of a sudden you've got, nearly 70 people in the office, and you're the leader. So the decisions that we're all making as directors, effectively, the first person people look at is the CEO. Whenever you talk about another firm, it's the CEO, and it's potentially personally responsible. So it became really, really scary, really, really quickly for me. And it was a challenge. It is a challenge. I say it was back then. I think I've grown as a person, by huge amounts over such a short period of time.
This much on my screen. Let me just.
I should bring my chair down, shouldn't I? But no, honestly, I think from one of the main concerns was, over the years, it's one of the points I want to discuss today is the kind of the mental well-being. I was concerned about my own mental well-being. It's how am I going to deal with this personally? So it became really, really scary. But a question I've got for you, Mark, is you're quite a calm person. You always come across calm. You do a lot of your own mind calming exercises, your meditations, and I do too. But how have you dealt with it from a mental aspect? And, how have you looked after your mental well-being through this?
Well, maybe I'm like a swan. I look really calm on the top, and my little feet are doing this underneath. For me, I'm all about being calm. I can sort of break it down into different compartments. As I said before on these webinars, I'm a control freak. I like to be in control of things. So once I'd worked out with our cash forecast of how we got through it, even if it was for 1 month at the moment, and then I shifted it forward to 2 months, that calmed me down. And then all we did is we've dealt with problems every day. So, whatever those problems are, they're not really big problems. They're potholes, and we just deal with them. So once I changed my mindset with that, I wasn't too stressed about it. Once I got past the fact that, oh my God, I'm not going to lose everything over this, and we can come out stronger, and we've worked to it. So, but you know me well. I love meditating. I think it's really, really important, or mindfulness, whatever you want to call it, just to calm yourself down. I know we've spoken about it loads of times. For me, if I'm not thinking and I'm calm, the answers all come to me. I don't have to go chasing the answers, and things just develop and they work out for me. But I think for me, the control point, the fact that we've worked so closely together and with the board of directors so closely on a daily basis. How many times do me and you chat every single day?
Yeah, I think our communication is key.
But based on that communication,
5 or 6 times a day.
Well, Gal thinks we're having a relationship, but let's. But I think
Lucky
the fact that we chat. Say it again.
I said, lucky you.
I think we said love you.
and that.
But I think the fact that we chat every day and the board of directors and we're all working towards a common goal, I'm calm with that, and the meditation and the books I read. I know I've said this to you before. I feel like my whole business career has led me to this one point. All the things that I'd learned about, even we were talking about telesales the other day, just being involved in areas like that I would never normally have been involved in as accountant. They feel like they're all to this point, and I think this is a really important point for us to move forward. But away from me anyway, how have you dealt with it? Because you've got different ways of dealing with it.
Yeah, I think, over the years, I've been one to, I've been open about it in videos before, but, I used to get really bad anxiety. So it's been a real big test. It's similar to you. The things I've learned in the past from calming my mind down when I've needed it the most, I've actioned more so than ever now. And, I was actually talking to you before, I've been exercising a lot. That's the truth. And I was saying to you before, I feel that not from a fitness point of view, because I know you mentioned before, I've got big muscles, Mark, but not from a fitness point of view, from more of a mental point of view. And I feel that, I said to you before, I was tired last night. I was very, very tired. Yeah. And it's because we're doing so much during the day, making key decisions, and, I'm using a lot of brain power. But I feel that the more brain power I use through the day, the more I need to exercise. So exercise has played a huge part. I go out for runs, I go cycling. My dad is watching now. He kindly he lent me his bike, but really he gave it to me. So I've been, going out cycling, and I think that for me has been the reason why I've been able to keep some sort of sanity, and also the communication as well. It's nice to chat. I think the most important thing is being able to talk to someone when you need it.
Well, I think that's the 2 points you said there. The first thing for me, okay, I love playing sport, and I couldn't do the normal sport. I went running. Okay, it took me twice as long to do the same distance as you, but being out and running and doing things like that just cleared my mind. And I think secondly, the communication has just helped. And to be stuck by myself would have been really, really stressful. To have you on a daily basis and the team, the board of directors to work with on a daily basis at a different level is, very, very supporting.
Tell me what you think about the government, and tell me what you think on how they've supported businesses, and what your thoughts are.
Well, I won't give you my political views, but why don't you recap what the government's done with the furlough and the rest of it, just and what's the new things that are coming out?
So, well, you've obviously got the bounce back loans, which we'll touch on in a minute. I think let's start with furlough. I think furlough was something that the government brought in to stop unemployment and stop redundancies. I thought it was personally. I think it's been good. I think it's allowed businesses to keep employees, and it's allowed employees to stay in jobs for as long as they possibly can. It covers 80% of employees' salaries up to $2,500. And I think it's important to say as well, whilst we're on furlough, that it's more about surviving, isn't it? It was giving people enough money to get through this period, not for people to necessarily earn more money through this period or to have profit through this period. It was more about making sure people could get through this period, being able to eat, being able to pay their rent, being able to pay their mortgage, and so on. But the new changes is as we look to come out of this. Go on, sorry.
I was going to jump in. I think if they hadn't have done furlough, businesses would have had no choice other than to make people unemployed.
Well, you look what they're doing now.
Unemployed,
you look what businesses are doing now. Everywhere I'm reading, and there's a lot of negativity. It's, this company are laying off 7,500 people. This company are laying off 1,000 people. It's going to be a huge issue. But could you imagine if furlough wasn't there? That'd be double. It would be double.
But once someone's unemployed, they're unemployed. The company's not going to take them back again. And we spoke about it. We've tried our hardest here. We've had to furlough a few people, but our whole basis for being was to actually keep the team that we've got, because we've invested so much time and money into people that actually to lose these people, that would be a bigger cost.
It took a lot of strain and pressure off of everybody, I think, furlough. Yeah. And I think it was, I think coming out of it's going to be, I don't know what's going to happen from an economy point of view, but I do know that they are extending it until October, which is, I think they had to do. But what they will do is from August, they're going to ask for a contribution for a company from the employer. They're saying 20%.
Hasn't been agreed yet, is it?
It hasn't been agreed yet. That's what the rumor is, 20%. Like I said, I don't know how it's gonna affect the economy. But I mean, furlough for me was a good thing. I think the CBILS was slightly it's not everything it's supposed to be. They came out, didn't they, and said that they were going to give loans to businesses, and the application process was just ridiculous. There was 50, 60 pages of applications, and I think 1% acceptance rate, I think, at first with the CBILS.
Wow. I think it's the same with everything the government's done, isn't it? I think their intentions are good. I really believe that, apart from travelling to 260 miles away from your home, but I believe their intentions are good. They put out announcements, but I don't think the infrastructure behind it's there. So they'll come out and say, CBILS, it works for Monday. And the banks didn't have a clue. It wasn't set up to be able to do it.
But they were only guaranteeing 80% of it. So obviously the 20% was, but I don't think many people, a lot of the larger companies went for the CBILS loans. Some of them got it, some of them didn't. But you really had to have your figures together if you wanted to get it. You needed to provide the information. And you can still do it. But what was interesting is the bounce back loans. So that they came out, they were getting a lot of pressure, the government, with the bounce back loans, with not being able to lend businesses or banks not lending. So they 100% guaranteed the loans, no personal guarantees, up to 50K. And because they 100% guaranteed everything, banks were just lending it, for fun, weren't they? They were just,
I was going to say, what was the statistic on the first day? Wasn't it bounce back loans? The amount they lent was equivalent to what they'd done in CBILS, I don't know how many weeks before that. Something like that.
Something like that. But it concerns me, because if it's not personally guaranteed, and if there's no security needed for a 50 grand loan, then how's it going to work when people potentially can't afford to pay it back? Not only that, from an insolvency point of view, What's
Yep.
stopping businesses, and it's not the right thing, it's not ethical, but what's stopping businesses saying, do you know what, I'm not going to pay that back, I'm going to liquidate my company?
I
And
think though the
that was a
government
question I was going
probably
to ask
thought.
you.
Well, in my opinion, I think the government are just spending whatever they can to try and avoid this deep recession. And I think the fact that it's so obvious, our clients obviously not, and anyone watching this webinar, I'm sure wouldn't do it, but loads of people will have applied for it. The amount of fraud must be billions for the bounce back loans, but I'm sure the government have just worked out it's probably cheaper than it is to actually for companies to go into liquidation. Because what we've spoken about before, and I'm sure we'll go on to later, is if employees are made redundant, there probably aren't going to be the jobs out there for them. It could be a scary place for the time being. Business owners, what are they going to do? A business owner who's entrepreneurial is not, he or she is not likely to be able to close the business down and go and get a job working with someone else, because in all likelihood the jobs aren't going to be there. And also, he has no choice. He's going to have another business. And I think part of being entrepreneurial is accepting sometimes that you're going to work harder for less. And I think the bounce back loans and the furlough and the grants, I know you'll come on to in a second, I think they're there just to buy everyone time to try and get through this.
Yeah, and whilst we're on bounce back loans as well, we've got a question I'm going to answer. Any news on Metro Bank and the bounce back loans? They're weeks behind everybody else. Yes, I'm fully aware they're behind everybody else. Well, I actually was forwarded an email from a director of Metro this morning to say that they'll have news hopefully later this week or early next week, but they're getting closer and closer. So yes, it's one of those things. If you can't wait for Metro, then there is an opportunity to look elsewhere. We can help you with that, but Metro are probably about a week away, in my opinion. So yeah, yeah. So go on, say that again. Sorry.
There were also grants, weren't there, available?
Yeah, so the grants available. So if you're self-employed, you can apply for a grant via the HMRC website. You would have need to file your 2019 tax return, and it gives you up to $7,500 for three. It works out average monthly pay for the last year.
Is it over the last 2 years or 3 years?
It's over 3 years, but if they prorate it based on how many, if you haven't done work 2018 or 17, it's based off 1 year. So as long as you filed your 2019 tax return, and I think self-employed income is the majority of your income, then you'll be eligible for it. You'll need to, if you haven't done already, you'll need to go onto the revenue website and you'll need to put your details in, and they'll tell you whether you're eligible as well. You've also got, if you own a shop as well, and you're entitled to small business rates relief, you're entitled to, I think, 10 grand or 25 grand, depending on the size of the shop. I'm from speaking with a lot of our clients and a lot of business owners, they've all had their grants. I haven't spoken to anyone who hasn't yet received their grants. And they've actually
I spoke to someone this morning. Who'd applied twice and going backwards and forwards and not received the grants. But I'm sure
you're speaking to the wrong people. You're definitely speaking to the wrong people.
It wasn't a client of ours, that was why.
But the government have actually recently topped it up for, and they by 617 million in total. So local authorities can give more. However, they have been asked to give based on shared workspace. So anybody who's in with shared workspaces. So yeah.
Oh, you can. I didn't know that you can actually claim for.
Yeah,
claim if you're going WeWork.
You can if you're in a WeWork or something like that, you can speak to your local authority, and they've been asked to lend more money to those people with the additional money that they've topped it up. So Mark, what do you think the long-term implications are for businesses coming out of this?
Oh, I think the short term is painful, isn't it? I think it's been so interesting, isn't it? I know we've spoken about it before, but I love the way that some companies have pivoted. They've just taken their business and they've changed the model. If we just, on a really simple level, gym instructors where the gyms are closed, where they've said, pay me £5 a week and I'll do online gym instruction. And I think I mentioned to you the golf instructor that I've not played golf for a couple of years, but the guy that I use, Craig, if you watch him, but I don't think you are, but I've been sending him videos of me swinging, and he's been correcting my swing, which is a major thing, just by WhatsApp. I think that's amazing, and I like the way that restaurants who didn't have takeaway are converted to doing takeaway. And I think in the short term, everyone has to do something to pivot. I think if the business doesn't work, and it didn't work well before pre-lockdown, and nothing's changed, that they have to just change direction and just make it work. But I think there's going to be some really, really bad problems out there. You know, I hate to think what's going to happen for the businesses, say like restaurants, where they're only allowed to operate at, say, 25%. And I think we spoke about this, was it yesterday, Mitch? We were talking about, whoever you were talking to, the fact that they said they could carry on working and it would work for them because they were doing because they could do takeaways, which would allow them to go on. You.
Yeah, they were saying that if they didn't do takeaways or deliveries, they wouldn't bother opening. It would cost them too much to open. But the fact that they've pivoted, they weren't delivering or doing takeaway before. Yeah. They are able to open up. They said they could open up by 25% by July the 4th. They've been told. Tables for
25%.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? It just can't work as a business unless they're pivoted. And I think the next stage of where we are is businesses are going to have problems in the short term because they want to open up, and like hairdressers where they can only work maybe 25% occupancy. It was easy for me to say, wasn't it? But where 25%, the business model just can't work. And I think companies like that are really going to struggle, and I think they're going to have to do something, and maybe the rules will change away from this 2 meters to 1 meter to 6 inches or whatever it's going to be. But it's going to have to change if businesses are going to get through. And I really see in the short term there's going to be pain. And I think in the longer term as well, you know, everyone's gladly accepted furlough and grants, fantastic, they're not repayable. But loans, it doesn't matter whether it's 80% or 100%, they're still repayable. And okay, you get a year's free interest and repayments, and it's a low interest rate. But in a year's time, you're still going to have to pay it back. And you know, even a £30,000 odd loan is still £500 odd a month. And you can just see if you, in a year's time, you've got to start paying that, and also the outstanding PAYE or VAT that people haven't been paying. You add that up, and that's payable in March 2021. You just look and say, businesses are going to have to be ultra profitable. They're going to have to be profitable to run themselves, and they're going to have to create super profits to pay back arrears. And sorry, I can't use.
But okay, so that kind of brings me on to a question that we've had. So the revenue have been very, very good from a time to pay. They're accepting everything. They've stopped inquiries. They're saying, you know, delay your tax, delay everything as if you want. They're being really flexible with time to pay. But one of the questions is your thought of repayments of VAT and NI when the difference ends. Companies have already spent this money, which is, it's not a question, it's a statement with 2 exclamation marks. But it's exactly what you're saying, isn't it? I mean, if people were spending this money to survive, so, you know, maybe the government come out and say that they're, I don't know, it's giving extra time to pay, whether people can give away security, potentially to pay. I don't know, but they're going to have to do something, aren't they?
Yeah, I think the finance industry will, if there's a demand for something, they'll supply it, and you've got to look and say, between now and next March, companies are going to have to do something. They're not going to be able to afford to pay the VAT and PAYE in one lump sum. It makes sense to use HMRC's money now because it's cheap. It's the cheapest money you're going to get, but it's still repayable. And I think that where we're going to be busy, and financial institutions are going to be busy in a year's time, is actually saying, you have £100,000 in VAT, you can't pay it back. Right, let's put together something and let's structure it so that it moves to being paid over 3 years, 5 years, whatever it's going to be, because businesses just won't be able to do it.
Yeah, no, it's going to be, I mean, who knows what's going to happen as well. It's just, I think they will have to do something. How long do you think the economy will take to come back to some sort of normality? So it's a hard question.
I love economics. I love economics, and if you look at whenever countries go into recession, all the economists say it's going to be a V-shaped recession. So it's going to do this, it's going to go down and then come straight back. And what we don't want is one that goes down like this and you stay like that for a long time and then come, not that I'm in the picture, but come up there. But if you look at the economies that are slightly ahead of us, where they went into lockdown earlier, they're talking about, because they were talking about negative growth of 30-something% until the worst point of this, but then it catching back up. And only, I think, being in a negative position in a year's time by about 6%, I think it was, which is still huge, but 30% makes it the biggest recession there's been in 200 or 300 years, I think it is. I think, and you said, I watched you on a webinar the other day, and someone said to you, what do you think the greatest problem that is that people are going to suffer with after this? And your answer was fear. And I think it comes down to that.
I think that's the problem now.
Yeah.
I think that's a problem now.
But I think, let's just say, and it's not going to happen, but 1st of June, everyone's allowed to go back to business. There's a vaccine, everyone can go and work. I think everyone's going to be really, really nervous about, can you imagine going on a plane or going to a cinema or being in a packed restaurant, being in a packed pub? People are going to, if people aren't spending money, once they don't spend that money, it doesn't circulate around. And once it doesn't start circulating, everything gets smaller. So, they're talking about the fact that we could be back where we were pre-lockdown in 2 years. I don't see it. But I think the interesting thing is, I think if you're in a business where it's going to struggle, you have to pivot. You can't wait the 2 years for it to come back. But we've got some clients who have done amazingly well. They're not doing PPE or whatever it's called. It's not about that. They just happen to be in the right business at the right time.
But
and I think,
go on, sorry.
I was going to say, I think some businesses will do absolutely fantastic. I think some businesses will go back to pretty much what they were once we're through lockdown. Say like hairdressers, people are going to, I'll stop doing mine myself, but people are going to get their hair cut again, and it may be slightly different, and maybe they have longer opening hours so that they can spread the same number of people in different shifts. So I think businesses like that will come back, but some are going to really struggle. And I think they're going to have to do something with their business. They can't carry on the same path.
I think from speaking with a lot of people, and I've said this on previous webinars, it's the people that have just made a decision and moved with it and pivoted extremely quickly rather than thinking or in denial. Firstly, there's a lot of, it will come back when it comes back, shouldn't take too long.
Yeah.
The ones who have actually made a decision quickly are the ones that seem to be doing okay or seem to be doing well. Some are just fortunate to be in the right industry, but I think that's a character trait that I'm seeing in business owners who are starting to do well from that stage.
Well, from me, in the roles that we had, the CEO role that you were doing before lockdown was what I'd always done, I guess. Obviously, you do it much better than me. And I'll say this the once only. I said it to you before. The reason you spoke about the technical stuff is you're more technical at the moment than me.
I never thought I'd hear you say that.
Yeah, I said it the once. I know it's recorded. That's it. But I forgot what I was going to say now.
I want to ask you a question.
Oh, good. Oh no, I know what I was going to say. Sorry. Okay. I feel like what I hated before lockdown was I'd spend months and coming up with ideas and testing them and working through them. And sometimes for me, coming up with an idea could take 6 or 9 months to actually come through and check whether it worked. What I love what we're doing at the moment, we chat as a board of directors every day. We come up with ideas and we push that idea forward within minutes, a day, a couple of days. I just love this whole world we're in at the moment, that you can make decisions quickly and you can test it and move it forward. And I think people who are pivoting their business and changing it quickly like that can do things really, really, they can move their business away from what it was. I think the people who put their heads in the sand and just wait for the better times, I think they may well struggle.
What do you think would have happened if the government hadn't have provided all the support to businesses that they have?
I think we'd be in a far deeper recession than we're going to go into, because I think once people are unemployed, they're unemployed. Once people close businesses down, they close down. Once shops have gone in high streets, they're gone. I think what they did is they learned from the 2008 recession and all the recessions since the Great Recession from 1930, 28, whenever it was. I think, they in those times, previously they cut the supply of money and it stopped businesses being able to operate. I think they've done everything they possibly could to help us as business owners move through it. But of course, sorry, what are your thoughts anyway? You're asking me questions. Over to you. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I couldn't tell you. I'm not. I could. It's a tough one, isn't it? I think we would be in a complete mess. I think it would lead to all sorts of riots. The crime would go up. I think it would be a really, really horrible place. And I think there are some people and some businesses that have, fallen through and they haven't been able to get the level of support that others have. But I think the government, my personal opinion, and they have done everything they possibly could. And I think that they could always do more. They could, but they had to move so quick.
Yeah.
They were lending money out without speaking to the banks before. They'd already lent the money out. Yeah. So I personally think they've done. I think we would be in a really, really terrible situation. Really, really terrible. I think with furloughs, what they've done with furlough, again, is going to have, I think they'll have long-term implications because I think people are going to be made redundant. I think that what it's done is it's given time for businesses to delay those decisions and help and try and get back on track. And I reckon it's halved unemployment, in my opinion. Or what will happen.
I know we were speaking about this before, but it has given certain businesses the opportunities to restructure their workforce by using furlough to push people around and strengthen their workforce, maybe remove people that they didn't want as part of it.
Yeah.
I know that's not what it was intended for, but I do think everything the government have done, that it's there to try and ease the pain of where we are. And God knows how the money will ever be repaid, but who cares about the future? Because it's only now that really matters.
Yeah. I've got a question. So furlough has bought time for employees and employers alike, but eventually there will be mass redundancies. What advice would you give employers considering making redundancies when furlough ends? We kind of just touched on that. I think it's
I'd go for I don't think business owners should wait until the end of furlough to make the decision. I think they should be making the right business decisions as they go along, and they should be taking HR advice the whole way throughout. Okay, we've got Sharon who runs the HR department here, but people should be taking advice, A, to make sure they furlough properly, but B, to work out what they're doing. Even on a simple level, that Sharon's created our plan of how we all go back to the office. I think it's next week, whenever it is, in different teams, and how, it's all about minimizing risk. And I wouldn't wait until the end of furlough, because if you know the situation of what it's going to be now, why wait till then? Get it working properly. I think what this where we are at the moment, it's giving everyone the opportunity to make the right decisions now.
Yeah, and it's and I think not just decisions with regards to staff. I think it's decisions with regards to running the business as well, vision and goals. I think a lot of businesses, we preach it, especially in our new interactive program that we're doing. It's all about we preach all the time. You need to focus on your vision. You need to focus on your vision and align your goals with your vision and work on your business rather than in it. And we've said it for a long time now. I say long time, 10 weeks actually, 11 weeks. Every business owner wants the pause button. I mean, when we talk to businesses, Mark, most of the answers we get is, I'm just so busy at the moment, I haven't got the chance to do anything. And I think now that pause button is there. We've hit the pause button, and we're still in the pause. I personally, although we're on coming out the other end of it, and I think we're close. We're still on the pause button. It's not too late to realign your vision with your goals and really work on what it is you're actually trying to achieve. We've done that, haven't we? We've literally come over the last few weeks. We've come back and actually said, okay, well, this is our original vision. Where is that right? Is that correct? And we've looked at our vision and we've changed our goals. And I think it's a great opportunity for every business owner to do that? What do you think?
Well, I'd add on to that. I agree 100%, but I'd add on to that as well. Don't quote me because I can't remember exactly, but our mission statement is to help everyone internally and externally achieve their goals.
Identify and achieve their goals.
Thank you very much, Mitch. That's why you're more technical than I am. But it's something that it's been part of our culture for ages, but I think that really shone through the previous 11 weeks. We've done, as a business, we're only as successful as our clients are successful. We need our clients not just to survive, we need them to thrive. And what we did is, from after I sulked for the first weekend and on the Monday when I came in upset at work, once we worked out that plan, our plan was to make the right decisions for ourselves to protect everyone internally and the business. But our primary focus was all about our clients. It was all about helping them, with a contact plan, every client getting contacted and spoken to really quickly, which based on the way we're set up wasn't that difficult to do. But I know other accountants have struggled because they're just not set up to be able to do it. But our whole reason for being is to help our clients. And I think, this whole recession, this whole period, that's what we're about, isn't it? And, I think the question was, what should they be doing about making people redundant at the end of the furlough? It should be working towards what their mission statement is now and their vision to make sure it works. And then, if the people don't fit in, if the business isn't going to work out, maybe it's not making people redundant. You want to work with your teams, and maybe it's reducing hours, reducing salaries, whatever, creating 2 shifts. I don't know, whatever it is, pivoting the business. But for us, it's about keeping the teams going and not losing people that we've invested loads in. And I think it's too easy to say, once furlough's gone, I'm going to get rid of these people. Do you know what? If they're not the right people to have make the decision and use the furlough as part of that whole process. But
that's what I was saying before, though, Mark, with decision makers. I
said it better, though, Mitch. I said it much better.
You said it. You're. Well, look, I think people should listen to me because I'm more technical than you. But no, I think that I was saying before is decision makers are the ones that seem to be coming through this better. People that are just sitting on decisions, I don't know, sitting on decisions, and they just seem to be falling behind. And I think the most important thing is to make decisions. And like you were saying before, we do it to an extreme level. We get together every single morning at 8:30.
But just extending that, every morning it's a directors or executive level meeting, but twice a week, it was 3 times a week, I think, wasn't it? But the internal Zoom calls with everyone on board. I know we've said it before in the webinars, but our internal communication through this whole process is better than it's ever been before. The way we operate as a business is much better than we've ever been in the past.
And I think that when this all happened, I think when I realized that I actually need to step up as CEO of the firm and actually take lead, I think one of the most important things from my part was that, what I like to do is build up energy in the office. When we're all in the office, I like to walk around and build up everyone's energy and, get the best out of people. That's what my passion is. And that was one thing that we couldn't afford to go. That's what, when people walk through our door, they feel warmth, they feel communication. Yeah. And that's one thing that we're known for. And I wasn't prepared to let that go. Hence went to an extreme of setting calls 3 times a week. So I personally didn't think the culture would be as good as what it is, but it's such a good thing seeing 70 people on a call, part of that. And who would have thought? And I think it just goes to show that if you actually act on something rather than not doing it at all, good things can happen. I also think you touched on something before where you said, we put the contact plan in place. I think from our point of view, what a test for us throughout the last, 18 years that we've been in business. It's, we're business advisors, we're strategic business advisors. We're here to help you, well, we have to prove it now. It can't just be words. And we've what we've got with our consultancy department. We work with a lot of people that pay really good money to work with us on a much more intense level. But now we're doing it for what, 3,000-4,000 clients on a daily basis. We have to step up. things that we've done, it's all about helping others. And I think if everyone has that attitude, everyone's going to come through this. We put the contact plan in place. We're on phase 3 now. Everyone's getting, any clients that are watching, you're going to get more calls. We're going to call you and make sure we're going to discuss options to help you survive, and not just survive, come out the other end. Also the furlough, we did it at our cost. There's other people charging for it. And I think it was important that, we've done it because we want to help people. We're putting on webinars. On Friday, we've got one with our marketing content. We're going to show people how to get the best out of their social media. I think
really interesting.
So I think that's really good. What do you think?
Well, before you ask the question, just talking about pivoting though.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's strategic. We've always done high-end, good quality strategic work. What I love is the pivot that we created here. And this isn't me trying to sell it. I just love it. Is the fact that we've created something that is containable, where it's deliverable to lots of different people in one go. And I know we've played around with previous webinars.
But why we set that up in the first place was the interesting thing. It was because everyone needs it. Because everyone was saying to us, I need this right now to get through this period. And it was like, well, how can we provide that without charging the money that we do because of the time it takes? That's the original reason why we sat down and said, how do we make this accessible for everybody? And it's if you do it for the right reason, it seems to be paying off. I know there's a few people on this call that are actually on that program at the moment, so it seems to be paying off. But yeah, it's great that we're able to provide that. But I was going to ask you a question, but I can't remember what it was now.
Let me ask you a question then. How do you think the recession, or what we're going through, will change business for the better, so that it operates in a different way?
I think people will have to take a step back and look at their overall mechanics of their business. I think if people do it right, I think a lot of businesses will come out a lot leaner from this. And it's, like you say, it's all about pivoting. I think what it's done is it's fast forwarded the world, it seems to be. I mean, technology is obviously a huge part of our day and age. And I think that if you look where we're going, or where the world's going, is very technology focused. Well, now, or digital is a better word. Yeah. Now we've got no choice. Now everything at the moment, you can see it works. Digital works. We're picking up clients in Newcastle, Manchester, because locations are relevant now. So I personally think that people will be able to develop their businesses using technology a lot better, a lot easier. I think there's potentially bigger growth if people accept that technology is going to change the world, is changing the world, and use it to their advantage. I think people can come out of it really, really, really well. And I think, a lot of the old school firms that don't use technology, there's an opportunity there to implement technology as well. And so I think technology is the key in where we are at the moment. I think that's going to change everything. Technology.
Well, just look in our world though. Forever we've tried to stop people giving us information in a Tesco's bag or a shoebox or whatever. And of course, during this period when everyone's quiet and working from home, or and not been working from home during lockdown, it's unbelievable the number of clients that have given us their books to work on. And what we've done is be able to pivot it, where we've shown them how to use Receipt Bank or whatever apps we use to convert their data, rather than giving us invoices. They've been scanning and they've been using cloud-based software to do it. And just on a really simple level like that, well, we've been trying desperately to educate people. Something like this comes along and bang, people just make a decision. Oh, I didn't realize it was that simple to do. Oh yeah, do you know what? Yeah, I'll email across rather than, the bank statements, rather than me printing off and sending it to you. I'll email you a PDF. I think that's changed dramatically, hasn't it?
It's unbelievable. But I think that also people have had to, because with all the bounce back loans at the time, we didn't know what they were going to request or what the banks were going to request. And also, how do people know what it is that they want from the banks, how much money they need? Same with the CBILS loan, the requirements were so high that before the bounce back loan came out, everyone thought the CBILS loan was the right way forward. And it was the case of how do people get all their information into us so we can provide up-to-date information and up-to-date accounts, because we couldn't meet them. So people had no choice to go digital. But I think it's given everyone an opportunity to find out where they actually are as well from a financial point of view.
I would add on to that. The technology for communication. So we use Slack internally, don't we? I know we're staying with Slack in case Slack are listening.
Oh yeah, I forgot
honestly,
about that.
Yeah, but we use Slack for internal instant messaging, which you brought in. I think it's fantastic. I think it's a great way of communicating our internal communication because of that, and internal Zoom meetings that we've been doing for a long time anyway. It's astonishing that a company, 70 people, no one in the office, operates better with their 70 people working from their homes and their organisation. And I think, to me, like, recessions always bring about change. It always brings some technological change where things develop. And with the technology here, with communication effectively and all the apps, I think where business is going to change is, we know, my figures were always that we could grow by 50% turnover wise and people wise and not have to increase the space of our offices. I actually think it's probably going to be 100% or maybe more that we can grow, just because we were always set up for people to be able to work from home. It was always a bit nervous, but why wouldn't we want people to work from home? They're more productive. If anyone from the office is watching this, just don't close your ears at the moment. But they work longer hours. They spend less time chatting and wasting time in the office. They deal with issues and problems much quicker because they have to deal with it. I think we come through it, and you said it earlier, I think we come through as not just us, but every business can come through it leaner and meaner because of it, using the technology. And I think, you read about these businesses in the city where they're saying, the big banks, do we need this space in the city now? Do we need to be here? Could we just have smaller offices, hot desking, or whatever the correct term is these days, people working from home? I think the other side of that, though, is we all are social people, and we want to spend time with other people. So it's nice seeing everyone on Zoom, and it was lovely when we did the karaoke evening and we did the quiz and whatever. It's really nice seeing everyone, but it's still not the same as seeing everyone in the office, is it? And being face to face and seeing everyone's emotions.
Isn't it? It's getting the right balance. I think there's an element of, I definitely have it when I don't go into the office. I feel guilty. Now I know that I can. It's true. I feel guilty. If I'm not in for whatever reason. Now
because you get your hair cut. That's why you're not there normally.
Oh, tell me that I need it now. But no, I think it just proves that you can do it from wherever, providing I think it's been a great exercise this, if you look at it from our part. I've got a question. I've got a few questions before I ask you another question, Mark, because I know that I keep asking you questions, but it's actually specifically for you. Can we ask Mark, do you think because HMRC have lost a lot of income, and because they're now going to have to chase people and companies for backdated tax? Okay, so because obviously they're lending out and people aren't paying their tax, do you think they're going to become more aggressive going forward?
In the short term, no. In the longer term, maybe. So in the short term, they can't, because they've moved all the resources from doing what they would normally be doing to, they have been fantastic. We've been doing R&D claims for clients, which I think are just amazing. Send them in. I don't know the time span that HMRC are paying, but I think it's
2 weeks. 2 weeks at the moment, yeah.
I knew you were more technical than me for a reason, but just proving it all the time. But I think, they have shifted people out. The level of inquiries have come right down. They've stopped. If they're taking action against taxpayers, they've delayed the action. So undoubtedly that's going to be pushed away. The money has to come from somewhere. I'm sure that at some point they'll be attacking. I read a case this morning where they reviewed a company that owed £10,000 worth of VAT, and they'd gone after the director and claimed millions from him because he put through what he shouldn't have done. But I think I go back to when I first started accountancy, which is a lifetime ago now, but we used to handwrite, no comments, Mitch. I'm glad you didn't say anything there.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, good.
Sorry.
But, well, you know, we'd handwrite tax returns, submit them. HMRC were really manually orientated. They had lots of people that just took that information, put it into whatever format and did stuff. Now every file, everything digitally, they've got their computer programs doing whatever. It's far more targeted. And, you know, I'm not trying to sell here again, but we have the fee protection insurance, which covers our clients when they get attacked by HMRC. And it's proven the level of inquiries by HMRC is increasing. It has to increase, not just because of this recession. It will increase because they've got more data available to them without actually doing anything. They can just computer generate this stuff and pass it out. So I think there's going to be far more targeted attacks by HMRC in the future.
I also think there could be, with furlough, I think there could be a huge HR issue going forward as well. I think that there's been a lot of companies that haven't furloughed necessarily, they haven't sought the right advice and they've done something incorrect. And I think there could be, I think it's for any firm that has staff, I can't recommend highly enough to go and get HR support. It's not expensive. It's worth having there in the background to cover yourself. I think there's going to be the HMRC attacking companies and
so
individuals.
Are you saying they will attack the companies over making false furlough claims?
Yeah, I do think. I think they haven't come out and they haven't said how they're going to audit how many people, you know, for all we know, for all the HMRC know, everyone could be furloughed but still working. One of the rules was
exactly.
They're going to have to check. They're going to have.
I don't know how. I have no idea how they check, but you know, it's like, I think the fear factor that once they do attack a few companies, people might just come forward. They might do some sort of amnesty. They're quite clever at doing things to collecting money without having to spend the time and effort doing it. But undoubtedly, the government are going to have to get the money back from somewhere. I know that tax rates aren't meant to rise, but they must rise. I don't think they'll rise in the short term, because if they increase tax rates now or soon, within the next year or so, it will destroy businesses as well. They need to help the businesses. But at some point, it's an easy target, isn't it, to raise money by people who have done something wrong, either intentionally or unintentionally.
I think so. So look, before there's questions that we've got to answer. So
does no one want to come on with a video? And
I don't know. If anyone wants to, please feel free to put it in the chat, and we invite you in, providing that your questions are appropriate. What's been your biggest challenge as in the chairman role? Because you wanted to take a step back effectively, and you now you've been dragged right back in. So what's your biggest challenges?
So we're talking about a chairman role since lockdown.
Yeah.
I have to say, it's not even challenge mentally to stay positive all the time and not let the small things weigh down on me. The challenge has been, but it's something I enjoy doing, staying focused on what our goals are and what we're trying to achieve. Because I think in life, and just generally, I think people like putting problems in your way, and it's still there to distract you. And I think we've been quite focused as a business that there's an issue with this, let's deal with this. And you know what we're like, and I think most people who deal with us know what we're like. We're very systems orientated in the office to make sure that we're consistent in what we do. And things that haven't been working is generally because there's not been an adequate system in place. So we've improved the system, it gets reported. I've got to say, the challenge, this is only going to play into your hands, Mitch, I'm sorry. It's been a pleasure to work with you and to work with the other directors through this. It's been a great experience. And if I'm totally honest, although I'd love to be retired and playing tennis and golf and paddle tennis every day, during lockdown, I've not had the choice. I couldn't do that anyway. So the thought of sitting at home and doing nothing every day would be horrendous. This has been one of the greatest experiences of my life, just business life, of actually making things happen and working on them, and being so decisive with what we're doing. The biggest challenge has been staying focused on what we're trying to achieve and not letting other people take me sideways. but it's been quite easy to do because you and me have worked together as a team, and we've all worked together as a team of directors and executive level as well. So yeah, I've not personally, it's not been a huge challenge. What about you? You've had a completely different role to play.
Do you know what the hardest thing that I had to do was tell everybody that everything was going to be okay? I've said that to you before. It's the hardest. I've never had to do that before as in my role. You think, like
Can I ask you though?
Yeah.
Was it hard because you didn't believe it was going to be okay, or you
No,
didn't know it was going to be okay?
I didn't know. I know that
Okay.
I'm a go-getter, and I know that if I set myself a challenge to do something, I'll get the result most of the time that I want.
Yeah.
I won't accept anything less. And I like the challenge. I like fighting. I like the fight. And I think that when this happened, I remember we got the whole office together on the ground floor and we said, look, we don't know what's going to happen. And it was, I spoke with people individually, and I had to look at them and say, we're going to fight. Everything's going to be okay. And I had no idea that it was going to be okay.
Okay,
Or
so
it was going to be. But that was the hardest, one of the hardest things that I've had to do. Look at someone in the face that it's going to be okay when not knowing, but knowing that if it wasn't going to be okay, it would really, it would have had to really, be a big, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I see. For me, it was slightly different with that. I try to be, I want everyone to be aware that I'm as honest as I could possibly be. I'm not going to lie to anyone. You know what I'm like, I'm black and white. If I have something to say, I'm going to say it, whether it's good or bad. I can't help myself with that. But I think, to me, when I remember the first day, so the Monday was when I came in and it was like, oh my God, the world is, we're doomed. And the Tuesday we presented to everyone, and I felt quite comfortable there. I was honest, we were going to do everything we could do, and we would protect everyone's job and best we could do. And okay, life is, there are always negatives, things are going to happen you can't control. But I honestly knew at that stage that we would come out of it one way or another. And because when we came out of it, that the majority would be okay. I didn't know who would be the minority. And fortunately, okay, it's not come to that. But I think, I can understand that, but it's stressful. That's part of the role that you become.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was the hardest thing for me to do. And I think also entering something, and I know not many people have had the experience of living through a recession, but a lot of people have. And I think, not a lot of people have had this experience before. Well, none of us have gone through some sort of pandemic, but I'm entering something, being responsible for a firm, and with no experience whatsoever of going through it, and just going off my, acting on,
I think,
making decisions.
Did you not think that's why we've worked well as a team through it?
Absolutely, absolutely. But that was my biggest challenge. I haven't, the thoughts are going on through my, like, wanting to make decisions quickly, not being able to rest, because you just want to make decisions and make things happen. It's dangerous because it affects, you could potentially burn out. I think it's a good challenge, but it's
something we said yesterday as well. It's too easy to start looking for problems as well, isn't it? So we were talking about yesterday the fact that at the moment, so when the first Monday I came in, it was like, oh, what we're talking about is problems. How are we going to deal with this? And then once we got past that stage, it was, okay, we weren't talking about surviving, it changed to thriving. And now it's changed to the dynamics are completely different. When we talk about problems, they're all good problems. We have this issue, how do we take it from being 2 and how do we make it to be 4 or 5? We're pushing the business forward. And so for me, it's probably the most exciting period I've ever been through. And I know that lots of businesses probably aren't feeling that at the moment, but I think the only way for them to deal with it, and let's recap what we said before, is make decisions, pivot, definitely.
And I will say, one of my biggest things, and you laugh about it, Mark, but there's a series on Netflix called Suits. And if anyone wants any inspiration, Harvey Specter, if anyone wants any inspiration to make a decision and watch it, he makes decisions very, very quickly. Not necessarily the right ones, but he still makes decisions. That's actually been some of my inspiration. I thought I'd share that because Mark was joking about it before. I knew I'd get it in.
Three. We know season 3.
Only season 3 because he gets a little bit gets soft as he gets older. Look, we've got some questions. Let's run through some questions. What do you need to qualify for R&D tax credits? Is this open to all sectors? Yes, we've done a video on that. If you go to our website, look at R&D, there's everything you need to know. If you want more information on that, then get in touch and I'll arrange for get in touch. Drop me an email, mitch@nordens.co.uk. I'll get someone to contact you and go through everything with you. It's worth checking out. It will take 10 minutes to go through. And you can see whether you qualify.
It's worth saying, Mitch, isn't it? R&D isn't what everyone thinks it is. Not people walking around in a white surgical whatever. It
probably is at the moment.
Well, yeah, there's probably a big R&D claim on that. But we've done an R&D claim. We've just submitted it because we've created whatever it is that we've created internally. Lots of organisations will have R&D will apply to them, and it's such a great claim to make because there's no risk associated with it.
The one question, more of a statement here. Surely it's better to furlough rather than make redundancies if you cannot afford redundancy payments or the lengthy process of making someone redundant. Ultimately, this will have to be faced, but was unsure of the legality of making someone redundant when they're furloughed.
Should I start there? Or?
Yeah, I'll let you.
Thank you very much. I think that the issue there is what that person's doing is delaying making the decision to say, it's going to cost me money. Do I want to make that decision? Well, if you leave it for 3 months or to October, you're still going to have the same issue. Then I accept that you'll be a few months down the line and business will be different. My suggestion is not necessarily to make the decision now, but to take the advice now and work out what it is you're going to do, because the government are going to try and wean us off furlough. So they're obviously going to reduce the 80% down to like 2,500 down to 60% or whatever it's going to become. The right time to find out is now. Get the information. And the way I control my emotions is, and I accept that I'm an accountant, I have to write things down. I use a spreadsheet just because I like writing things into a spreadsheet. But I'd work out my different alternatives and my plan of where I'm trying to get to. And by doing that, I could see that if certain things happen along the way, here's the point I have to make the decision. So I don't have to do anything until that point unless something changes between that point. So it may be well that you don't do anything, you don't make that person redundant until the end of October because you can see how the business is going. You get the advice, at least you know what it's going to cost you, because if someone's been there, is it less than 2 years, I think? It's not my area at all, but less than 2 years, there isn't any redundancy. You're going to pay them their notice period and holiday pay, and I don't wish anyone any harm. I hope no one gets made redundant. But it's a fact that if there's a level of stress that a director or business owner has in the business because they're not making the decision, find out, get the answer, and at least then you can work out what to do.
Good.
So have you got anything to add to that, Mitch?
Sorry. No, I haven't. I haven't got anything to add. I think it's important to seek the advice now as well. Yeah. I think now's the opportunity. I like this question that we've got. Throughout these challenging times, what are your views on people starting new businesses, i.e. property investments, consultancy, to name some examples? Well,
go on, you go first.
Yeah, I think that it's a perfect opportunity to look into setting up something new. I think that when there's things that are happening as they are at the moment, there's also opportunity. And I think if you take the opportunity, there's huge rewards. If you look at some of the businesses that were set up in 2008 during the last recession, I think WhatsApp, Uber, they were set up in the last recession, and I think it's a great opportunity with the time that people have got to put their plans in place and the level of potential investment and finances that are available. I think it's a great opportunity. And I think that, I think if you've got the right mindset, if you're a little bit delusional but realistic believer, I think there's a massive opportunity for someone wanting to set up themselves. What do you think?
Well, there was the article Well, there was the article last week, wasn't it? And I know we went out with it, social media, to say, and I can't remember the numbers, but it was an
16 or 17%, I think it was.
of new businesses setting
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great time to set up, because during the really good times, people carry on doing the same things. It's only during the difficult times when people say, I don't mind paying the money for this, but I want more. I want better quality advice. I want whatever it is you're going to. And I think big companies struggle to pivot and change what they're doing. Small startups can pivot easily because they're what they're about, and they can attack the institutional companies out there. I think it's a really good time to start.
I agree. 2 more questions, unless anyone's got any more. I currently do not do business banking with any of the bounce back loan scheme accredited providers. As a result, I'm having challenges in getting a loan with HSBC, the only provider at the time who would loan to people who don't bank with them, I would imagine that means. Now Tide has recently come on board. I've chased HSBC regularly with no luck. All I can do is wait. What are your views on this? How can you assist?
Can I just ask, you don't know whether it's Sybil or bounce back, do you?
I believe it's bounce back. No, this is Sybil then. No, it's the bounce back.
Oh, okay.
Well, what were you going to say?
No, I'll leave it to you. I didn't understand the question.
Yeah, so, I mean, if HSBC aren't coming back to you, there's no harm in going to check out your other options. We've got a corporate finance team that are doing this, or they're helping clients in that position, advising them on where to go. I think Tide actually have Tide, I have set up the bounce back loan, but I think you can only use them if you have some sort of other finance with them as well, potentially like invoice finance. I think that was. I think Darren mentioned that the other day.
I think I read at the weekend. I apologise if I'm wrong to Tide. I felt that they had some sort of problem now with being able to deal with.
Do you know what, Darren is on this call. I'm going to allow him to talk. I know. I'm sorry, Darren. I've just unmuted you. Sorry. Do you want to answer that about Tide? This is a.
Is he? I don't think he's unmuted.
Yeah, I've invited him to talk. Maybe he's not available.
He's just pretending he's watching.
Yeah, if not, that's fine. He might come on in a second. But no, I do believe that Tide you need to finance them. So what? I've just had a message. He's on the phone, so I'm gonna remove him.
I think they've had a problem there, but I think what you were going to say is, if you can't get the bounce back loan, there are other banks out there that will do loans, but they just won't be bounce back.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I think you can apply for bounce back loans with other firms. Darren is the perfect person to speak to. So if you do want help, get in touch. Mitch at Nordens.co.uk. I'll introduce you to Darren, and he can help you advise you on where to go for that. One more. Great chat, guys. Thank you. For businesses that were struggling going into lockdown and have taken a loan, what level of capital reserves should they aspire to achieve for survival purposes? 6 months, 12 months? Does capital reserves take priority over pivoting in a different direction?
That's a great question. I don't think there's a right number, and I think the problem is, you look at, say, like even British Airways and Virgin and like huge companies that obviously have whatever level of reserve to get them through how many months, they still need bailouts from the government. So, it depends on your level of risk. Some people are really cautious and will want 6 months worth of money in the bank account. Some people would want 1 month. And I think the correct answer to this is put together profit forecasts and cash forecasts, work out what level of money your business needs in it, and then work backwards from there. But I think if you've got a business that was struggling beforehand and you've taken loans, you need to carry out the exercise, more the strategic planning with the profit and cash forecast, and you need to create a plan to see what's going to change in the business. Because if you carry on doing what you've always done in the past, we know that's where you're going to go with it. I think if you've got those forecasts to go ahead and then you start come up with other plans, how it fits together, you could then match that against your capital requirements of what you think the business needs.
Cash flow forecasts are key. I think everybody should have done that already. Anyone who hasn't, we have got a template which we can send you across if need be. But again, cash is king right now, right, Mark?
Yes.
Probably,
and to be fair, just to say, cash is probably more important than profit at the moment. You can get by with making losses as long as you've got the cash there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Stupid thing to say, but
absolutely. Last one. Someone just talking about HSBC bounce back. They've applied for HSBC bounce back. For some reason, it took more than 48 hours to process. They chased it, but it was paid out 6 days later after they were chased. So it could be worth chasing. If you're not getting a response, then like I said, let us know. We'll be able to help. Thank you for making us aware of that. Okay, Mark, that's it. I think that's all we've got time for.
I was really enjoying. I was saying, if we stayed any longer, we could start getting beers out and carry on the conversation.
I don't drink.
Oh,
That's the truth.
It'll just be me then.
It'd just be you. But good to chat. I'm sure I'll talk to you 6 times more by the end of
Tonight.
this evening. And
really enjoyable. I hope everyone enjoyed it anyway.
Thank you to everyone who joined. And if there's anyone's got any questions, just fire them over to me, mitch@nordens.co.uk. And anyone needs any help, assistance, we can help you. It won't be a problem. And yeah, perfect.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mitch. Thanks.
See you later, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.